All right, Body Double, 40th anniversary this fall. Brian De Palma, Sean's guy. Where's he in your Sean's guy rankings?
Oh my God.
Is he one?
He's my number one pervert.
Schrader number one? Who's number one?
Guys who are like, what I'm really thinking about is cranking it. He's number one. That's like all of his movies. When you're watching him, he's like, gosh, I really like how that lady looks. Like that's what's running through his mind. If they're all, in that ranking, he's number one.
So this is Dressed to Kill crossed with Rear Window crossed with Vertigo. Mm-hmm. And you just get the feeling De Palma, who I think was post-cocaine at this point, right?
Well, hard to say because you've got Stephen Bauer and Melanie Griffith being critical participants in this movie.
But there's one interview he gave where he was like, everyone was basically in Cocaine's Anonymous playing Trivial Pursuit, and that's how he got to know Melanie Griffith better.
Yes, I think it's right after Scarface.
I think stylistically there were still some granules on the back.
Maybe there's some dust.
Yeah,
still
like maybe not ingested, but it's the pixie dust on screen is definitely
a misting.
Yeah.
My feeling is he just watched a bunch of Hitchcock movies and was like, "What if these were way hornier?" And then was off.
Yeah, you could say that about a lot of movies in his career.
Yeah.
I mean, many of his best movies are thrillers that are overtly inspired by Hitchcock. But he's like, now we can show breasts on screen, and he's excited about that.
Yeah.
But also an incredible mastery of filmmaking craft, much like Hitchcock.
Yes.
CR?
I just find this movie to be so delightful, even though it's so twisted and fucked up. Like, this is like a very funny movie. It reminds me kind of like David Lynch movies sometimes, where I'm just like, why is he making that face? And that's what makes it so rewatchable to me, is just like you can find all these little details in this thing. Like, oh, I didn't notice that this guy was standing behind the payphone at that moment, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, it's a freeze frame movie. It's a like rewind the scene movie. It's so fun.
Is it possible only guys like this movie? Because I tried to make my wife watch this with me, and multiple times in the first hour, she was like, "This is terrible. You're doing this on the Rewatchables? Why are you doing this?"
Yeah.
And then she just left.
Does Carrie have a lot of Twitter accounts?
No, maybe.
I think he has made movies in his career that women like. You know, Carrie, for example, is a movie that women really love. Body Double.
Women love The Untouchables.
Yeah.
They do not.
Snake Eyes, they're big fans of.
But this is maybe the most pure distillation of his id. You know, the thing, this idea of watching women move.
Yeah.
He has said is a huge inspiration for this movie. He loves to literally follow women and observe how they move. And that's a part of the telling of this story.
Man, there's this amazing interview out there. I can't remember which one it is, but it's like this guy's asking De Palma all these sort of probing questions about like, do you make immoral or amoral art and all this stuff? And he's like, you know, why do you always have to, it's the woman's the victim and not the man? And he's like, it's way more entertaining.
Yeah, I saw that interview. Yeah.
It's just like, it's way more interesting.
What did he mention? He mentioned Still of the Night with Roy Scheider.
Yeah,
and he's like, it sucked.
Nobody
wants Roy Scheider in danger.
Yeah, Audrey Hepburn blind? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
He's given, him and Schrader are probably leaders in the clubhouse for just awesome, letting it fly. I don't give a shit any more interviews.
Yeah.
I'll just throw bombs left and right.
But De Palma has always been like that. There's a great clip of De Palma on Dick Cavett's show with Scorsese in the early maybe mid 70s. And even then, he's being such a sarcastic little bastard for every question that Dick Cavett asks. He never really cared, which is part of what makes him great.
Yeah, I mean, if you have that kind of talent, you can afford to be that cocky, but you know, there's so many different ways his career could have gone if probably he played ball like 5% more. But then it wouldn't be these movies. They would be slightly different, you know?
This was the most power he had because he's coming off a stretch from 76 to 83, Carrie, The Fury, Dressed to Kill, Blowout, Scarface. And then Columbia's like 3-picture deal, go. And he's like, thank you. I will go, actually. I have some ideas.
Yeah.
I was doing Dressed to Kill, and there was a whole thing with Angie Dickinson's Body Double, and I thought, what a cool idea for a movie. And then I watched every Hitchcock movie, and I lost my mind.
He also, I think, was getting a lot of backlash for those movies that were the ones you listed off that were so popular. And some directors and some artists might be like, oh, okay, I'll soften it up a little bit. I'll change gears. He's just like, I'm going to go 110% in the direction that people criticize me in. violence.
Even to the end.
Yeah, nudity,
he just throws
sex,
in a blood going over a body double's breast scene just to end the movie.
For the credits,
He's like this, basically. Hey, guys!
I do think he's, weirdly though, being honest about the fact that this is what he believes people want. Because he's like, this is what I want. What I love is high-toned, beautifully imagined violence and sex. That's a human impulse. And there's nothing wrong with rendering it and making fun of the fact that this is what we like. Like, this movie it's a comedy. It's a satire. Like, it's meant to be fun and funny and ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's all on purpose. So I don't blame him for pursuing that.
I wrote the Wikipedia, the description should have been an emasculated, cucked, claustrophobic, stalking, peeping Tom wannabe adult film producer almost finds love with a porn actress and an embattled wife who gets murdered by a drill. Dressed to Kill coming up next.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the weirdest, and I want to really go into the casting of that, one of the weirdest protagonists we've had, but it seems like a big inspiration for him. It was really fun reading all the De Palma interviews. I watched the documentary. He said in 2024, because he was doing press for the 40th anniversary, I think why my type of movies last so long is they're very cinematic. Cinema kind of died with celluloid because you don't have the same cinematographers anymore. You don't have film anymore. It's now completely dominated by the writers and showrunners, and the movies and shows are basically radio plays full of people talking to each other, and they're all shooting digitally. It doesn't look very interesting. He was very obsessed with look.
I had a very funny experience with this where I watched it once, and then I was kind of like watching it to take notes, and I'm obviously very used to watching TV at this point where I kind of more or less just need to hear it.
It's almost like a podcast with moving pictures.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially if you're like watching a lot, you're just like, oh, okay, like these two people are talking about whether this guy is the bad guy or not. And it's like they're sitting in a room. You don't really, it's not like there's going to be some amazing piece of filmmaking that you miss. Mm-hmm. But I actually, like, I got to go get a bottle of water while Body Double was on. And I was like, oh, I missed the whole point of this being on film and on screen in the first place is to visually stimulate and or terrify and or accelerate your heartbeat. And that the dialogue is basically secondary in this film and in many De Palma films.
Even the story, which is like labyrinthine and confusing at times.
And kind of silly.
But not very good. Like the story of this movie, because he talks about this, how it's all about this. He wants the structure. Like, he's interested in the structure, and then everything else that goes into it, the plotting and the dialogue, is sort of like the details you have to figure out afterwards. He's like, but I have an idea about a movie where a guy observes someone, but the person that he's observing isn't the person he thinks it is. Like, that's the thing that gets him excited about making the movie, which is different than we're making a new TV series and it has a high concept, and what's most important is that the dialogue crackle. Like, he doesn't care about that stuff.
That's why I have like 13 nitpicks coming up later. There's some holes.
It's flawed.
Yeah.
It's flawed.
There's some holes. I love it, though. I saw this movie. I did not see it in the theater. I've never seen this movie in the theater, actually. I would like to see this movie in the theater.
I would too. I haven't either.
Yeah, I saw this. This was in the HBO, early blockbuster vortex. I'm a teenager. And it was like, this was a run where we had American Gigolo, Dressed to Kill, Body Heat, Postman, Always Rings Twice, Thief of Hearts, Crimes of Passion, Tightrope, and Body Double in 5 years in the early 80s. I'm going to call this horny film noir.
I think that's exactly what it is.
Because it's like erotic thriller crossed with film noir, and it's this specific category. It even shifts as the 80s go along, because then in the late 80s, we get into this 9.5 Weeks, Angel Heart, Fatal Attraction, Masquerade. It becomes more popcorn.
Adrian Lyne kind of era.
Yeah. These are more like really cool Hitchcock homage type movies.
I think it's a hinge point between Body Heat and Basic Instinct. You know what I mean? Like, if those are really the two poles of that era of those kinds of movies and two of the best examples, Body Double is like the most lurid but the most mainstream at the same time.
Yeah. Well, as a teenager, it worked. It was great. Fell in love with Melanie Griffith.
So what was your relationship to her before this movie
Only
came
knew
along?
her from One-on-One with Robbie Benson. She played the hitchhiker. Didn't know any of the lore.
Because she was in some movies in the 70s when she was a teenager.
She had a little run as a teenager.
She's in like Drowning Pool, right?
Drowning Pool, Night Moves, Smile.
Pretty severe problems in the early 80s.
Yeah.
I think pretty legendary Wild Child. And then I think cleaned it up a little bit. And then by the end of the 80s, it was one of the biggest actresses we had.
Yeah.
Like, she's in Working Girl. That movie is a phenomenon.
Her 80s, her mid 80s is even more amazing than I had remembered.
Yeah.
Like the run that she goes on after this movie is
Because of
incredible.
this movie.
Yeah. And that's when Something Wild happens, right?
Something Wild is immediately after Fear City, the Abel Ferrara movie, and then she's in Milagro Beanfield War, the Robert Redford movie, and Working Girl in the same year.
She also
and
had
Pacific Heights.
It's pretty rare that somebody had the exact look of the look you needed in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see her in this movie, it's exactly what a lot of the musicians looked like. A lot of like the porn actresses looked like. You name it. It was just wrestlers, whoever it was. She just kind of fit in perfectly.
Yeah.
And then it crests with Pacific Heights, one of the great movies of all time.
It's up there. Yeah.
When she battles Carter Hayes.
It's up there with La Note.
Her versus Carter Hayes is where
have you done that on the show?
No, we've been saving it.
Okay, all right.
There's From Hell. It might be From Hell
month?
year.
From Hell year.
Yeah, just From Hell until we run
waiting
out.
for the election to determine that, or
Yeah, maybe. De Palma said about this movie at the time, if this one doesn't get an X, nothing I ever do is going to. This is going to be the most erotic and surprising and thrilling movie I know how to make. I'm going to give them everything they hate and more of it than they've ever seen. They think Scarface was violent. They think my other movies were erotic. Wait until they see Body Double.
You dropped a little bit of, you think you're better than me?
I know, it was. He's like,
Boston Brian?
You think I can't push an envelope?
He didn't actually get to do what he wanted to do, though.
But I was going to have this for the hottest take, that I feel like this movie's pretty tame compared to what the potential of it was.
I agree.
Because you've watched Crimes of Passion now. That movie's insane.
Yeah.
I think that this movie pretends like it's incredibly horny and titillating and is actually more about like how funny and weird all this like sex industry and sex it can be.
Yeah.
And so he's like selling you on like, yeah, it's a lot of topless chicks in this movie. It's great. But then you get there and you're like, oh, this isn't titillating at all, because it's like, what if this was just a day job for people, you know?
Yeah, the porn industry stuff. Yeah, but also spending 2 hours with Craig Wasson, who's like the weirdest dork of all time. I mean, the movie is...
Can we talk a little bit about the casting of the leading man stuff?
I have that right here.
Yeah.
Two more things on De Palma. He hired this writer to work on the script with him, Robert Averick, who later said his work on the film was working off De Palma's ideas of Hitchcock's ideas. So there you go. Okay. And then De Palma, the research on this was great. He originally planned for this to be the first Hollywood film to have unsimulated sex scenes.
That's what I was referring to.
And the studio was like, nope, no thank you.
I'd like to know that quote that you read of his, if that came before he got told he could not do that.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I'm going to make a mainstream porno. That's my plan here. And didn't get the chance.
The 80s were great. As we've said many times, just cocaine was fueling a lot of the creativity from 78 to 86.
It's so funny because it took us like 37 minutes to get to work today, and I was like, I'm watching these guys just like drive their gas guzzling convertibles like from Culver City to the Hollywood Hills in 5 minutes, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, cast decisions. So in order, Craig Wasson is the lead. He's like Bill Maher crossed with Breckin Meyer.
Nailed it. I'm gonna pass out. How that's so good. Like that's exactly what he looks like.
It's like if they had a kid.
That's perfect.
I have no idea why he's the lead of the movie. And I think De Palma's smarter than us, so there had to have been a reason he wanted to have somebody who wasn't an actual A-lister or a star.
Yeah, I think
people have talked about it, like it just doesn't work if it's Travolta.
Exactly,
it doesn't work if it's Al Pacino or something, and like you're like, oh, that's Al Pacino or John Travolta.
Who's a big time movie star that you would also describe as a cuck? Does one exist?
Well, and nobody would want that part where it's like, hey, cool, I'm doing this movie where I walk in on my girlfriend
and it's
riding
like the
somebody in my room.
Scene. It's not like he's like, oh no, he's like, yeah, and he just kind of like skulks out of the room, like it's so emasculating.
Yeah. So that's why.
Yeah,
because I had him recasting Couch. I was like, if Kurt Russell was this guy, is this a better movie or a worse movie?
I think it's a worse movie, but you would get a better lead performance. I think that, I don't want to get too far ahead, but like Tom Hanks is kind of perfect for this part.
I thought about Tom Hanks too.
Because what he's doing is he's trying to recreate the Jimmy Stewart part, the ordinary man that Hitchcock was so good at portraying. And in the 40s and 50s and 60s, the ordinary man stars seemed more like regular guys.
Yeah.
They didn't seem like Tom Cruise, or they didn't seem like Patrick Swayze or John Travolta. They were like, they look like somebody's dad.
Yeah.
But a more handsome version. And so that isn't really the trend in 84. And so he leans into a guy who, seemingly is a dweeb.
Could it have been Dreyfus?
He's such a big star.
on my girlfriend. I can't do. You do a better Dreyfus than me. Do Dreyfus.
It's like,
come on.
The bite radius on my girlfriend was not from a tiger shark.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that was good. Sometimes you got to defer to CR with the impersonations.
Wasn't Dreyfus lost at this time?
He was done.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
but
the thing.
He had been in Goodbye Girl. He had been in Jaws.
But that was 5 years
But
earlier.
he was in Hits, though.
But in
the whole
84,
point
he was
is
in a
that
cocaine
this guy
fog.
literally is the dude who moves to LA to be an actor, thinks he's hot shit, finds out he is the 350th draft pick in that town, and spends all of his time doing B movies or going to auditions and going to acting classes.
So he's kind of perfect, but he's also, as a quarterback, he's a game manager at best.
I think that he's perfect in the first act of the movie.
Kind of the Minshew.
When it changes over, when the playoffs come in this film, I think you want a little bit more of a blue chip arm behind center.
Can you do the claustrophobic face?
This movie also did nothing for his career.
No,
everything that comes after this.
Because he won a Golden Globe for an Arthur Penn movie that I'd never heard of, For Friends.
Oh yeah, sure.
And he kind of just does a lot of voiceover work, and he's done a lot of B movies. And
could you have talked yourself into Caruso?
David Caruso?
Oh yeah.
There's no way anyone would cheat on David Caruso.
Totally Caruso,
Pure
2 years after
might.
Officer and a Gentleman.
Stuff
Caruso.
of Legends. Can you imagine watching Gloria being like, Stuff of Legends, Stuff of
Right
Legends?
there.
Yeah.
It's a really weird lead choice. It's for movies that I really like and I've seen a million times. This is probably the weirdest number one person in a movie.
It still
Even
sticks out.
seeing him in the credits, it's
Yeah. He is the star of the movie.
Yeah,
Melanie
of a
Griffith
movie.
is only in 18 minutes of this movie.
Star of a top 5 at the time famous director.
Yep.
Just was
I gotta
that's
admit,
my guy.
I was watching this in the first 8 minutes after he leaves the set, and he's stops and gets hot dogs with onions on everything. I love that he's like that. And he's picking everything up, and he keeps jumping into his car. He doesn't get in through the door. I was like, did I pick the am I having a stroke? Is this actually the first 15 minutes of this movie? Is this guy just kind of haggling across Los Angeles? And it's really strange because you're just this dude is not a movie star.
No. There are a lot of people like this guy who come to Hollywood and they're like, I know, maybe I'm missing a couple things, but I feel and they point to 2 actors that maybe they can follow that path.
Sure.
Yeah.
And within 5 years, they're moving back to Kansas City.
And then Giamatti's fuck no, get out of here.
Giamatti's clear out. So Giamatti could have been somebody 30
could've
years
maybe
later,
done,
right?
Yeah. He could
have been Dennis Franz. Yeah.
Deborah Shelton, who plays Gloria Revelle, is so bad in this movie that they had to redub her voice with Helen Shaver, which I don't ever remember reading. And we've done 363 rewatchables. So I don't ever remember somebody being cast.
It's almost like a spaghetti western. It almost makes his interactions with Gloria feel otherworldly.
Yeah. I just watched a movie called Death Game with Seymour Cassel, where the same thing happened, where at the end of the movie, that they needed to do ADR because it wasn't recorded well enough. But Seymour Cassel hated the director, and he was like, "Fuck you! I'm not coming back for ADR." So they dubbed over his entire performance with somebody else's voice. But in an American movie production, it's very rare.
Yeah, because I always thought that was her voice, and I always wondered why she wasn't a bigger star because she's hot.
Yes,
but it turns out. I don't know what was wrong.
But is her voice like Fran Drescher?
I don't know.
What is Deborah
mousy?
Shelton's voice like?
No, I watched an interview with her. I thought it was totally normal. I watched a bunch of interviews with her connected to the anniversary of this movie. And
Helen Shaver,
she was fine.
amazing voice.
So, great voice.
Yeah.
But Helen Shaver, she's got the I smoke 2 packs a day voice,
right.
Which is very sultry.
That's why CR was like, hey there. Hey-o. Well, and then Melanie Griffith, he casts her and she becomes a massive star almost immediately. Gold Globe nomination, but revives her career. De Palma said, I knew Melanie because we played Trivial Pursuit together. It was Steve Bauer and Melanie and a bunch of other actors. These were all actors that had come out of Cocaine Anonymous. They were all being rehabilitated. I got to know her quite well and she really wanted to play the part. We have a really good casting what if for this, but I don't know anyone else who's like Melanie Griffith, like this 80s version of Melanie Griffith. There's certainly been nobody in the last 20 years like this. She's
in a tradition of a certain kind of movie star, like Judy Holliday. She was in the remake of Born Yesterday, or, certainly Marilyn Monroe, where it's sort of like, don't underestimate the intelligence of this beautiful blonde. That's like a traditional Hollywood
seemingly
archetype.
ditzy, but not really.
Yeah.
Anna Faris tried to pull this off, but couldn't pull it off. She did in the Cameron Diaz, the Coppola movie.
Right, Lost in Translation. Yeah. She is in that tradition. Cameron Diaz is in that tradition. Like that. It's like an archetype that kind of persists. She though has something a little bit different because she's like really naughty. Like there's something very
more so than Jamie Lee Curtis in Trading Places.
Right.
Like
Jamie Lee Curtis was rumored for this movie, and I think Melanie Griffith works so much better. It needs to be ditzy, but kind of street smart, and ultimately like a little bit dirty. Deep down.
Yeah. You buy her as Holly Body in this movie for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You have bought her on VHS.
Chris has literally bought her
on 3/4-inch tape.
Here's De Palma on erotic thrillers. Are they dead? Was the question. I think so. I don't know what's going to change. Something new will emerge. Maybe it'll have to come out of Europe, but I don't see it.
Classic.
As I said, I'm constantly looking for stuff to look at. It's in the hands of the writers and the showrunners who are being paid a lot of money by tech companies. This is not a good place for independent art to evolve.
It is funny that this guy could just basically be like, I love watching porn. And we're like, oh, God, what an auteur. He's just like, he's really putting in the work. And he's just like, I'm scouting Europe. Trust me.
Yeah.
There's an emerging porn
emerging erotic thriller industry out of Bulgaria.
The reason...
It's like he found the Luka Doncic of erotic thrillers. You guys.
He was on erotic thriller NBA TV.
Watch his Euro hoops.
Also, at the time this movie was made, Columbia was owned by Coca-Cola. It's not as though the tech companies are holding him back in 2024.
Yeah,
this was always true. He was always kind of pushing the envelope and trying to get stuff done that other people wouldn't want him to do.
It does tie to a question that has been being asked this year about nudity in films and how to approach sex when sex is so available on the internet. What was that movie you liked? Honora?
Yes, the film that is most likely to win Best Picture this year. Yeah,
it has a ton of nudity and sex. I haven't seen it
yet. It does. I mean, it's about a.
How would you compare it to like Bulgarian erotic thrillers coming out around?
It's a little more tame,
or Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a movie though about like the consequences of working in that environment. And this movie, I would not say is about that. This movie is not like here's the downside of being Holly Body.
It does seem like it's trying to say something about the movie industry, though. Because
for sure.
One of the rewatchable scenes we'll get to is when Jake and Holly Body, they're finished getting a drink and they run into that actress.
Yeah.
And they start talking about, oh, what's going on? What are you working on? And it feels like De Palma's trying to say something like these two worlds are not that far apart.
We're all whores. Yeah. Everyone who does this work is a whore, whether you're actually in a film where you're having sex or if you're just trying to get your next job, you're whoring yourself all the time.
And the ending, I think, is the other one where he's like,
yes.
Yeah, you think of gratuitous nudity? Okay, watch this.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
For no reason at all, I'm going to actually have a body double scene, and I'm going to shoot it perfectly and put blood on the boobs.
It's an incredible... It's one of the great kind of like tongue-in-cheek joke endings of a movie. It's just like everything that you were sort of like, getting so excited by for the last 2 hours is just like a guy with a steel bar measuring how far this woman was from the camera, and it's like... It's really behind the scenes.
It's also an echo of the Angie Dickinson scene in Dress to Kill, which is like a shower scene that is kind of focusing in on her.
Well, you guys don't remember because you were probably not born yet, but I remember that body double, that was there was like a People magazine feature about her.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking like, and I hadn't even seen the movie, but I was like, wait, so they have somebody's getting naked, but then somebody else is the one getting. I'm like, I was like 10.
Yeah,
what's going on?
There was a pretty famous one when we were growing up, where it was like that isn't her real butt or something. I don't remember.
There's been
what
a lot of those though.
There was one in the '90s that was very memorable, but because I remember when Striptease came out, it was like that's Demi Moore.
Oh yeah,
like there are no body doubles in this movie. That is her dancing. It's unmistakable. But a lot of the time, in those situations, you'd use a body double.
Really fun I'll be 22 years in LA this month, and I'd seen this movie a bunch of times, having never lived here, not knowing where anything was. But now that I'm here,
yes,
it's one of the better. Oh, that place. Hey, farmers market.
Yeah, he's going to the Grove Farmers Market.
Yeah.
Tail the Pup.
Barney's Beanery.
Where's the mall? Is the mall that she buys the underwear? Is that?
That's a Rodeo one. My wife goes.
Yeah.
Okay, she was all excited about that. That was before she stormed off. This movie sucks.
It's pretty different though. Like you don't see LA captured this way on film anymore because you can't shoot movies here the same way.
Right.
It's much harder.
Because we have a dumb mayor who won't give tax credits to have people shoot film and TV here so we can make more money.
Absolutely.
That's why she got booed at Dodger Stadium. No, that's why she got booed.
That's why.
Like, how about this? Let's shoot movies and TV shows here.
They should do whatever they have to do to make that happen.
LA is a beautiful city.
Yeah. LA is a great city with a storied tradition of shooting shit here. Let's start making it happen again, dumbasses. It was really nice to see LA though. And so that house, which it's called the Chemisphere. Yeah. I always thought it was on Sunset because there's a house on Sunset going toward the Palisades.
That's up on stilts.
That's up, and I always like, oh, that's the Body Double house, and it's not.
It's
turns
near.
out that's
it's
like
closer
a
to like
house.
the valley. Right?
It's on
Mulholland.
Mulholland.
Okay. Yeah.
Famous house.
I said it was
Sean
on sale.
Thought about it.
It was on sale like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something, 8 years ago while I was living here. And it was expensive, but not as expensive as you would imagine, probably because it's
not very functional.
Not a very efficient home to live in.
Great.
Tough one for the kids with the 700
Hold on, I have to get the freaker to come meet us.
Yeah. But I remember talking to Eileen and saying like, is there any chance you would consider living here? Just because I love Body Double and also I love the Hollywood Hills, I thought it would be a cool place to live. If I had it now with a 3-year-old, I would be so fucked. So fucked. God. You could never do it.
Could never do it.
It's hard to decide whether it's the best house on stilts or if that still belongs to Lethal Weapon 2, to the one that Riggs pulls down.
Good one.
Or, Neil, don't leave me like this. Neil.
That house is on stilts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overlooking the ocean.
That house was for sale like a year ago.
How did he get, I mean, I know how he got it. He robbed banks, but that was a great spot.
Really nice.
Yeah. I was just like, do you run a credit check or what? Like,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, this is it's a very celebratory LA movie. Everything, all the stuff during the day, you're just like, oh yeah. Although they cheat a little. They go to Long Beach for the hotel scene.
Oh, is that where that is?
Yeah.
Where she gets
it makes it seem like that's in like Santa Monica or Venice or Malibu, but that's Long Beach.
Okay.
So that's
but
a
even like the
drive.
sun-baked, like the auditions that he goes to, the backlots, like all the like sort of all that stuff is really, really well rendered.
Producer Craig, did you like the LA pieces of this movie?
Wonderful iconic LA movie.
Okay. Well, I can't wait for your take at the end. I don't want to spoil it.
One of the things that I like about the LA-ness of it is that every set, every place he chooses to go is in some way artificial, which is like a big part of the idea of the movie. Is like Tail the Pup is this like Art Deco, sculpture of some kind. The Rodeo Mall is this like beautifully designed but completely fake artificial space, and like those are the places he's most drawn to because that's that is what it's like.
And then the movie
here.
often like will take flights of fancy where it's like, is this actually? I mean, it's happening, but like it'll change the back projection or
Well, there's that great opening moment where the set is being moved, the desert scene, and you think it's real, and then it starts moving, and you're like, everything here's fake.
Though.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, well, I have a good unanswerable question for that. Where was the office for Linda Shaw Enterprises when you went into work? Was it a 3 days a week there?
That's out back in your shed now.
That's right. It's in the ADU.
When you were filming one day at a time?
Karen Bass has encouraged us to zone out.
You would crush as one of those guys in the hot tub with her. What was that guy's name?
The guy who's interviewing?
Sid Goldberg.
Sid Goldberg's doing incredible pod work.
Sid Goldberg almost has the Dion Waiters locked up.
When she's like, I'm an expressionist, he's like, I think you mean exhibitionist. Yeah.
Can't wait to talk about him. $10 million budget made $8.8 million.
Sad.
But it's lived on.
It bombed, and even when he did the documentary, he talks about it like it's just an abject failure, and I completely disagree. I love this movie.
Well, it's beloved now, though. I mean,
But in 2015, he was making it seem like it failed.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like once you feel like something failed, nobody will ever convince you otherwise.
That's it.
Yeah, he's also, I mean, like when you think about the generation of filmmakers that he came up with, like the last third of his career is not as as heralded as Spielberg and Scorsese. You know, it's not
even close.
He hasn't had that like auto green light. Here's $200 million to make your dream project, Brian De Palma. And I don't think it's because he doesn't lack ideas. I think it's because his kinds of movies have really fallen out of fashion.
I think he's also wildly uncompromising, doesn't play nice, talks straight. He's not, Spielberg is, he's the real mayor of Los Angeles. You know, like De Palma is the opposite. He's dyspeptic, he's aggressive, he's very sure of himself. And his hits are intermittent. He's not consistent. Yeah. But like, I don't know, he made Mission Impossible.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, let that guy make an action. Like, why didn't make more action movies in the 2000s? I don't know. He was so good at them.
It feels like as the years pass, he's starting to grow in stature with like future generations. And you can see like the late 90s guys that came up were definitely influenced by him. I think there's another generation coming.
I think Soderbergh, Fincher, Tarantino, those guys.
Like there's so much Boogie Nights in this.
They're pulling so much from his movies. Yeah.
Roger Ebert.
This is honestly one of the greatest Ebert segments.
Yeah.
3.5 stars.
We salute him.
An exhilarating exercise in pure filmmaking. A thriller in the Hitchcock tradition. There's no particular point except that the hero is flawed, weak, and in terrible danger, and we identify with him completely.
Okay.
Pauline Kael came in and was like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
It's an awful disappointment.
Yeah.
She was like completely betrayed by De Palma, who she was a big defender of.
I like when Pauline Kael is like, I hate this, but not for the reasons you think I do.
Uh-huh.
That's always like my favorite.
This is a tough run for Pauline in that 82 to 84 range. She's
falling out of step a bit.
Yeah. She was a generation removed and super salty, and
it's kind of her October
battles.
Aaron Judge moment, you know?
Yeah, what was that?
Missing a lot of high inside stuff.
Yeah, you can get the cutter past her.
Yeah. No, but she went and tried to make that movie, right?
With,
Warren
Beatty lured her to come out and make a movie.
It like sent her in a
really
5-year tailspin.
But it was
she
like a
missed
trap
on some of these.
Yeah, but like they set her up to fail too, and that it was to kind of get back at her for being as kind of bare knuckled as she was over the years. Ebert hates a slasher, but he's so horny. So this is a real conundrum for him. And the horn dog wins out.
Horn dog defeats the slasher.
Yeah. It would be great if they had done a Siskel and Ebert where it was like Ebert and the Indian.
Siskel dressed up as that guy. Yeah, I'm surprised
Ebert's like pure cinema, and the Indian's like, I love it.
Was Byron Mayo the Indian?
Oh, God.
Today's the most rewatchable scene brought to you by Paramount Plus, where a mountain of movies awaits. A mountain of heart-pounding action. Blockbusters like Top Gun Maverick, Mission Impossible Fallout, and Gladiator. You guys saw Gladiator too.
We did.
Thanks for the invite. A mountain of jump scares with thrillers like Scream 6, Smile, and A Quiet Place Day 1.
We also hung out with Denzel Washington afterwards, and he was like, where's Bill?
Great. A mountain of fun for the kiddos with family favorites like If, Paw Patrol the movie, and Dora the Lost City of Gold. Discover something new every single week on Paramount Plus. Well, I have a bunch of rewatchable scenes, including, would you put Jake walking in on his girlfriend as a rewatchable scene?
I would.
The great Barbara Crampton, legend Barbara Crampton.
Her IMDb, she's naked coming out of the gate in the first couple, and then she settles down a little.
Salute her.
Yeah.
Reanimator, From Beyond.
So
Wonderful.
This guy comes home. He's in a great mood.
Yes.
In the kitchen. It's like a very well scouted out location.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your classic kind of long
good
floor.
Good middle class existence this guy's carved out for himself by living at his girlfriend's apartment.
Yeah. Like mid Beverly kind of location, probably second floor of a 3-story thing. And he's in there. He's like, here laughing and groaning. I wonder what's going on.
But he's got a big smile on his face the whole time.
I'm going to surprise my wife.
I got onions on everything.
Yeah.
I'm just
She's not going to believe I'm home.
I'm in Vampire's Kiss. Come on.
And then he's just walking down this long hallway, and it's like, and he's like, she's really having a great time in there doing something. That never occurs to him. She's like riding whoever.
Is it possible that he thinks that she's just masturbating? And then he's going to walk in
I thought
on
he
that?
was like, she's watching like Abbott and Costello or something. Like, because when he walks in, she's laughing more normally. Okay. And then it's like when she gets there. And the kill shot is her kind of be like, I'm going to finish, you know? Like,
she's like, can you hold on?
Yeah.
Crucial point here.
Well, also she communicates pretty clearly like, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over between us. I'm
Kind
sorry.
of ripped off by Paul Thomas Anderson a little bit with Boogie Nights.
Sure.
Nina Hartley.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Basically the same exact, almost like the same angle.
Yeah. Fortunately,
Little homage.
Craig Wasson did not put a gun in his mouth, unlike Little Bill.
That's right.
Tough reaction for Jake, but kind of establishes this guy sucks.
Yeah.
This guy's just gonna worm backwards out and then go to Barney's Beanery and
Lose his edge.
lose his edge.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Never been to Barney's Beanery.
So I have not been there at 1 p.m. drinking shots of Jack. I'll tell you
No.
that. Yeah.
next one, Jake's first time at the house sitting place where we get to see the house.
Okay, so you're skipping over.
What am I skipping? Tell me.
The method acting class.
Okay. I
Now,
don't love the acting teacher, but that's an important scene. You're right.
So it's an important scene that I don't like. Like, I don't think that scene works, but it's hugely important to the movie.
Yeah.
Because Sam identifies
I just
him
don't like
as
the
this
teacher in
weakling.
that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
This guy's trapped.
Yes.
The LA, here's my house. I gotta take off for 5 weeks. Just gotta water these plants.
What is it? What
CR was dying for something like this to happen when he moved here in
So
2011.
much. Yeah. I thought it was going to
Yeah,
be a
Miles
world
Teller's got to take off for 5 weeks.
You had this. You were in 1010 Wilshire for like 3 months.
I was only there for the month, but we stayed the full month even after our
I thought it was longer than a month.
I think it was only a month, but it was like our apartment was like ready. And our landlord was like, it's all set. You can move in. And we were like, we're good. We're living in like a loft apartment above the 110.
Did you stay because you were peeping across the street?
Yeah.
That's right.
Just like, she's got a telescope. And then we get the old, it's a great show here every night at 9 p.m. The neighbor just does a striptease for no reason. She just does a little dance.
The
And then
80s were
plays
so
with
fucked.
herself.
That guy, he's not like, what? Like, he's like,
I would have so many questions. I would be like, wait a second.
yeah.
9 p.m. Is it like Monday through Thursday?
Yeah.
Is it 7 days a week?
Does she stop to watch Taxi?
So
Like, what's going on?
Who's the
Like,
show for?
yeah.
Is it for you? Is it the same spot? Like, where's her? I would have had 40 questions.
He fortunately only begins explaining those things once Jake gets a look at what's going on. And you could have said anything to him in that moment and he would have accepted it because
Right.
he's enraptured by what
Because
he's
he's an
watching.
emasculated.
Well, he's also like,
cucked
I've gone
voyeur.
from living on some guy's sofa at Hollywood Tower, another great LA location for the movie, to living in this lap of luxury, which I guess must be the ongoing, never-ending dream that you can go from nothing to everything overnight here. It's a cool setup.
circle bed, rotating circle bed,
Yeah.
telescope with a neighbor who masturbates at 9 o'clock every night.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm good. I accept. So I just got to water these plants. I don't know. Where did you park in that place? On the bottom of the
I
street?
assume there
Then you
was like a
take that
driveway
giant
at the
long
bottom and then
escalator?
you get in the funicular.
The
yeah.
funicular, yeah.
I really thought the plants thing was going to come back.
Yeah, it's Chekhov's. It's weird. It doesn't really ever.
You know,
it's
they
not
really
like
made a
he's
point
like.
of
Don't
that.
let these plants die.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's not going to water the plants. Something will happen.
I think that's supposed to be to keep him home, like have him come
To
home
make
some
him the
point
witness.
after 6 p.m. every day, so he
Yes.
waters the plants and he's like really taking it seriously. The other funny thing about it is that like his alcoholism or whatever is mentioned briefly in that Barney's Beanery scene, but then the rest of the movie he pretty much is just getting sloshed.
Right.
Like, he's just drinking Coors and watching porn.
Yeah. He's looking at his watch. It's like, it's 8:44. 16 minutes.
Better drink a bottle of champagne and get into
Yeah.
this rotating bed.
Time for the show. Fucking weird housewife across the way.
This is a real, like, could not be made in 2024 movie in so many ways.
No.
Because
You can't even explain it. Like there's
No.
everything about it is like what?
the plotting is so stupid.
Well, and then later when he's leaving and the Indians like down kind of stalking and there's the tree in the street
Yeah.
and it's just like, how did all of that stuff happen at the same time?
But like,
How did they know he was going to leave?
does the Indian know that Jake is gonna be able to see him spying, and how does
I
he
don't
know that?
I
A
don't-
lot of questions.
Yeah.
Well, Jake starts trailing the dancing housewife is our next rewatchable scene.
Mm.
Goes to the Rodeo Collection indoor-outdoor mall, which my wife is a huge fan of that mall. She wanted me to mention that in the pod before
Yeah.
she stormed off. He's the most obvious worst stalker / follower probably ever.
He doesn't even talk into the payphone. He just picks it up. He's just like staring like at her like while she's talking.
It's actually like he should be probably thrown in jail. He's
They,
so
they
creepy.
try.
They
The
stop him.
security
Yeah,
guard
they
comes up
stop
to
him.
Takes the panties out of the garbage can at one point. Chris, what did you think of Pino Donaggio's score during this?
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you're a
fun.
big Pino fan.
Well, I was going to say, I know that we have Great Shot Gordo coming up, and we have a rewatchable scene here. This is Sequence Steven for Stephen Burham, the guy, director of photography. Just all of the stuff of them at the payphone, going up the escalators, the camera's like roving around, finding one person, going over to another. It's so great.
Yeah, and like nothing's happening, and it's so much fun to watch. Every piece of it is like mesmerizing, and literally nothing's happening. She's just walking around a mall.
It feels very much like a continuation or a sequel to the museum sequence and at the beginning of Dress to Kill, you know, where it's just like he's just trailing someone and you don't really totally know why, but you know something is wrong. Something is off. You can't figure out what it's going to be. And there's like tension but fascination. And like you said, Deborah Shelton is like, she's like you had to imagine her. You know what I mean? She's like so perfect looking that you're entranced by what you're watching, but it feels unreal.
If she showed up at like your dinner party, you'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Who looks like this? We also have claustrophobia in the elevator.
That's
right. Want to do your face? The claustrophobia music's good too. The dun-dun, dun-dun. There's too many people in the elevator.
I'm in a coffin and I don't like it.
We also get a really good creepy shot when she's trying on the underwear and he's getting a good look and he's looking around and like really peeking in. He's such a creep in this.
He is a creep.
It's the best is like you watch half this movie and then when the cop shows up, he's just like, you're a gross little peeper, aren't you?
Yeah. And as the viewer, you're watching going, some solid points.
Do you think De Palma is saying it's not that weird to do this?
Like I think he's saying
it.
we do it. It's just this guy's doing it 8% more. Like this guy can't help his obsession, so he's stopping. You know, it's like you may see somebody beautiful at a shopping mall and be like, oh, that person just walked by. He's like the extra 8% of like, I'm going to watch her go in Victoria's Secret.
See, I disagree. I think his thing is this guy's a creep, and he's like, all of you want us to keep following this lady around. And you're a creep just like this guy.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
You're also a creep.
That's a good point.
You're really enjoying
That's a good read.
this.
That's what I agree with you. And I
he's
think,
like flipping it on the viewer, right?
Yes, I think so. But ultimately, when you get to the bottom of that, it's like if we're all creeps, no one is a creep. I think that's what
I think
that's his perspective on the world.
You're right.
Purse snatch beach chase scene. Long Beach.
Some incredible movie running in this sequence.
Realistic though,
Yeah.
where it's like if you were running, you'd get tired.
Well, the hotel is really cool. I like that. All of a sudden, it feels like we're in like Italy or Greece or something, where it's like the decks, each deck comes out further than the last one. Somehow he's able to just walk up and listen to her phone call.
Not a lot of security
She
there.
seems nonplussed by this guy who's now followed her all the way to
and
wherever.
she's just like, you've been following me all day. Yeah.
And then the creepy tunnel. Is this your Great Shot Gordo?
My Great Shot Gordo is the diopter shot of the two of them at the payphone. That was from the valet.
Over this weird tunnel where it like
Tunnel's
pans
awesome.
back.
Yeah. Tunnel's cool. And more claustrophobia.
Greg Henry starts touchdown celebration hitting him.
He's like Kyle Pitts. He's like throwing the ball up in the air.
And then we get the 360-degree makeout scene, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's when you're just like, am I having an aneurysm? Like, what's going on?
Or is this real?
Yeah.
But just pure Hitchcock though, where like you're in the middle of a Hitchcock movie and you're following the plot and you're like, okay, this is going along, trying to figure out what's going on here, and then something happens and you're like, what?
Yeah.
It takes a minute for your brain to figure out if you're in a dream sequence or not.
What's he trying to do with the things going in circles?
Well, he does the same thing in Blowout.
The camera angle. What is it about him in circles?
It sweeps up the audience.
How does a film reel work?
Yeah.
The murder scene. Controversial.
People were like, it's phallic. He's like, it's a drill. I thought it'd be cool.
Yeah, he was like, I wanted the drill to be long enough to go through the floor.
Legitimately on the list of greatest kills in movie history.
Yeah.
And you never see the drill go in.
No.
It's so fucking funny now that he has to plug it in and that he has to keep plugging the drill in.
Yeah.
It makes
hold on, there's an outlet over here.
Can you just stay there on the bed?
But it's weird because like it's just this is an inexplicable plot thing. Why he has the drill, why he's going to use the drill.
He's up
why
on
not
like
just
the other
stab her?
roof drilling like the satellite.
But like he originally starts by strangling her with the cord, which is a callback to Dial M for Murder, which is like how the murder happens in that movie. So if he was going to strangle her, Why does he have the drill in that space in this elaborate setup that he's created to
It's
murder
like
his
De Palma
wife?
wants to just take Hitchcock and just make it super crazy.
Yeah.
It's just total. It's
a
total
great
satire.
like Hitchcock
Exactly.
mixtape.
Yeah.
She doesn't run. They both get knocked out basically in the bed, and then she just wakes up. She's like, I'm going to call 911 with my back to him.
Yeah, but I'm out of breath.
Yeah.
This will go great.
I thought the drill was so he could like break into the safe in the house to be a purported robber.
Right, but like
Yeah.
So he
there's
has
that
the
great
drill.
bit about how drills like that you can't break into metal. You can only drill wood with an auger bit like that. You can't actually drill into metal. Like a cop would know that in 5 seconds. Like you can't break into a safe with a drill that looks like
That's
that.
a stupid robber, but that's why he
Yeah.
has it, I guess.
Well, De Palma said the drill had to be long for the specific reason that it had to go through the floor and then be long enough going through the floor that it would drip blood.
I love the blood dripping and the white dog on top of him.
Yeah.
Is so fun.
Great job by the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like borderline Brandy Booth dog performance. Although,
Also incredibly pivotal in the 2 biggest scenes of the movie, in Gloria's death and then in the end, the second to last scene.
That's right.
yeah. Next one, the Sid Goldberg show. So Jake comes back home and he's like, I'm going to put in some porn. You're working on Linda Shaw Enterprises. What are some of those enterprises? We have a film, Deep Ghost, The Mating Game. The Mating Game. One night at a time? One night at a time, yes. And I believe you have a film opening up this week at the Pussy Flick Theater.
Yeah.
Deep Ghost is sick. That's really good.
It's also so great because it's her and it's her nipple and stuff, and then it finally pans out, and this guy is like this like half nude dude.
Looks like he should own a
hot tub.
hardware store. And then he goes, what happens when you get hot? And she goes, oh, it makes me want to come. Well, while you're coming, Linda, why don't we watch this clip?
That's just good podcasting. That's a great segue.
It's a great throw.
So Sid Goldberg show, he throws
to a
trailer, which was a huge thing in the early 80s, mid 80s of Holly Does Hollywood, which starts out with the guy coming in and going, 5 minutes, Miss Body. And she thinks it's like, oh, it's time to do the scene. He's like, no, I mean, we have 5 minutes. It's fucking great. De Palma was like, you could tell he studied the porn in the 80s for months and months to get all this right. And then they have the trailer and it's got stuff like, Screw Magazine says Holly Body keeps his business where it belongs, in the gutter.
All the quotes are
The quotes are
genius.
So
incredible.
good. This whole scene is
This movie goes
unbelievable.
like to the moon once it gets into the porn industry.
Yeah.
Like the video store, the trailer, like
It's-
everything about it, the set, the casting.
You mentioned PTA, but I mean, there's so much that is pulled out of this that is put into Boogie Nights. It's outrageous.
This part especially
Yeah.
with Sid Goldberg, who's played by an actor, by the way. There wasn't actually a Sid Goldberg.
I figured.
But
Yeah.
Linda Shaw was
She was a
a
porn
real
star,
actress.
There's a couple of porn stars in this
Bunch of
movie,
real
right?
porn
Yeah.
stars.
We're tackling all of them.
Tackling them.
Power
eh?
ranking. Yeah.
Power ranking. Next one is the Relax porn video, which is just incredible. It was incredible in 1984.
So what? Like the first time you saw it, your react. What did you think was happening?
So this was the first time I'd ever seen somebody correctly take like an MTV video and put it in a movie or a TV show in a way that it felt like MTV. And it was an even better version of it, right? And then Miami Vice started doing it. But this was right. It was like this Body Double and Miami Vice like were the first two that were like, everything you like about MTV, I'm now going to put into your movie.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting example of the way that De Palma's brain works. Because for a lot of people, if you were like, I want to put a band in my movie, you'd think that they would go like, well, what kind of music do I like? What kind of energy do I want the song to have for the sequence? But he's thinking specifically about like the visual filmmaking and so he watches MTV for like a year.
Yeah.
Not with the intention to be like, here's my musical taste, but just to be like, what does a music video feel like?
Yeah.
And how could I take my skills and make it even better?
And make it into a porno.
Right. And make it lurid, make it my stuff.
Yeah.
And Frankie Goes to Hollywood also was, very sexual as bands.
Sure.
So
But nobody knew who the fuck they were until really 1984. So he also had to have the foresight of being like, these guys, something's here.
Sure.
And this was one of the biggest alternative songs at 84.
It's a massive song.
The perfect song for the
Perfect.
sequence.
I have the Dracula the Musical Award for Best Imitation of Real Art, which we rarely get to give out. Putting that here. Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness Award, Best
course.
Needle Drop,
Yeah.
no question.
Sorry, Pino.
If you're going to nitpick, the scene is just too good for our 1984 porn.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this would have been
So
this
elaborate.
would have been the greatest, most elaborate porn scene ever filmed.
It's so funny because it's like De Palma and PTA can't help themselves.
No, they're
Like,
just going all in. They're doing it.
It's like, why is there a Norma Desmond, impersonator at the beginning of that music video sequence from Sunset Boulevard?
And then PTA steals the, yo, where's the cum shot?
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
After, it was the same thing as Dirk Diggler's first Amber Wave scene. This whole scene is amazing.
It's so strange though. Like it must. I'm curious to hear
We
Craig's.
could go to Craig now. Craig, what'd you think when this porn video just dropped?
Because like
in the
you
middle
barely
of the movie?
grew up with MTV.
Yeah, not really.
That's so crazy.
I didn't. Well, like while watching the movie, I was like, "Is this a dream sequence?" I didn't quite know what was going on, and then you realize, oh, this is like him acting and like doing this whole other plot. I don't know, man. I find it to be incredibly entertaining. I think it's something that you don't see now. I loved it. I found it to be very, very compelling.
Good answer.
Compelling and rich.
Well, just when you thought the movie couldn't get any better, now Jake is pretending to be a producer and has a date with Holly
That's
where
so
she
good.
says, I do not do animal acts. I do not do S&M or any variations of that particular bet. No water sports either. I will not shave my pussy. No fist fucking. And absolutely no coming in my face. I get $2,000 a day and I do not work without a contract.
And it's like all of Hollywood was like,
So, yeah, slow clap. Slow clap.
But she delivers it like she's done it 5,000
Yeah.
times. It's her
It's
spiel.
like her spiel. And he's like, okay, done. And
who
then she
is
like
your
puts her gum in.
favorite pretending to be a porn producer? Is it Scully or is it George C. Scott from
Oh,
Harvard?
George C. Scott. No question. No question.
And do you think Schrader and De Palma were comparing notes?
Fist bumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think De Palma saw the Jim Jism scene and was like, I got to take that one up a notch. They run into Kimberly Hess. Simon Lafarge is casting his next picture.
But that
You
woman.
might want to firm up a little bit. What does that even mean?
Firm up. That woman is a porn star, right? I think that actress is a porn star, which is why that's such a clever scene.
Oh, I didn't. That
Yeah.
wasn't in my
Her name is
research.
Rebecca Stanley. I
Wait,
don't
the
know-
woman
Wow.
who's like,
Interesting.
what are you working on?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so
Wow.
funny.
De Palma.
He's great.
It's fucking with people. And then
Do you have a lot of physical media starring
No, but
Rebecca Stanley?
if people want to send it to me, I'm willing to
4K
receive it.
4K
Yeah.
restoration.
Send it to CR's house.
Yeah.
And Jake blows it with Holly for some reason, says he's not a producer. And then she storms out. And that leads to the reservoir battle, which is another possible Great Shot Gorder award for how they do the coffin. And
This might be the most nitpicked moment in cinema history for me. It's just like everything about this. Like, I know you go along with it as the fantasy, but the last part is like, you're like, what is happening?
Sam's whole plan, I have no idea what's going on.
Why did he dig a 30-foot grave at the crest of a reservoir?
Right.
Like,
It's going to erode at some point, right?
Sam was just a terrible murderer.
yeah.
We'll get into that later in nitpicks. What's your most rewatchable?
I think it's probably the casting of him getting cast and then the Frankie Goes to Hollywood scene.
I think the scene I've rewatched the most is the Frankie Goes to Hollywood scene because it was the video as well. So
Yeah.
you saw it all the time growing up. I think the follow is probably my favorite scene in the movie.
I like everything from when he sees the porn video all the way through to the first date. I think is just elite.
Yeah.
But I like this whole movie. It's really hard to pick. What's the most 1984 thing about this movie? I would narrow it down to either putting a music video inside the movie or porn video stores that are like
It's porn video
being
stores
like
for me.
Tower Records
Yeah.
almost.
Specifically the adult section of a video store.
I also love that he goes up to the one clerk who's like, yes, I do have that on multiple formats. Let me take you to it.
Yeah.
But he's kind of annoyed too.
Yeah, but he's like, I also have like the works of like Visconti over here, but I will take you to go get Holly
Wow,
Potty.
2 Italian master references in this pod. Yeah, digging in your bag.
Nico CR. What's age the best? Young Melanie Griffith just looks great. She's been in our lives now for 4 decades, but it's really fun to see her in this and then Something Wild too. Same thing. You're like, wow.
Very similar characters.
How much Craig Wasson looks like Bill Maher crossed with
that has aged the best.
Breckenmeyer.
That's aged very well. Yeah.
Barney's Beanery. Fun that that's still kicking all these years later. Linda Shaw finally getting her props.
It's about time.
The Hakeem Olajuwon of 80s porn.
What is that? 2 titles? What are you implying there?
Oh, just you know,
incredible grace and length.
Hall of Famer, legend, and not discussed.
Does a
as
retired
as,
Linda Shaw have like a big man school? Like where you
she should.
Yeah. Was she a two-way player?
Oh, it's just, you know, I feel like she should have been up there with the greats.
Who was her Patrick Ewing?
Annette Haven, like who we'll get to later in this movie, but I thought she should have been up there. Movies where someone walks in on their girlfriend riding a dude. What's the number one for this?
Probably, I mean, Old School is pretty high up there.
That's a good one.
It's really more of like a. That's really more of like a, you know.
It's more of like a role play thing, too, right?
Yeah.
Has there ever been a movie where somebody just gets mad and just comes flying in, going after the guy?
No, actually.
Everyone always backs up.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever like, I'm grabbing a bat.
There's a really famous example of this. I'm trying to remember what it is.
Well, Sideways has the peeping on them doing it, but that's not a walk-in.
No, but like walking in on your girlfriend. I can't remember what it is. There's a very, very, very famous example of this.
This will be a good
one.
audience participation
thing. Feel free to hit us.
DM Sean.
This is for CR, for What Stage the Best. Sober people falling off the wagon, ordering multiple drinks from a horrified bartender and saying stuff like, I thought you were a bartender, not a priest.
So I guess those guys are friends, but it is incredibly funny when Scully walks in and orders the shot of Jack Daniels, and Doug, who's the bartender, is just like, I thought she stopped drinking. He's like, what's he doing here at 1 p.m. then?
What do you think? He's here
Why
for
is
the
he
tuna?
playing tennis then?
Do you have any active friends who are bartenders? Who you like sit down and you're like, it's Steve's here.
Yeah, I mean, I have
not at this point in my life.
Now you have a bar back home.
Yeah.
Take that out of the equation.
I don't own the bar. I mean, I was like just like a big patron.
Right. A bar you go to
yes,
where you have
Bad Brother. I go there all the time.
But in LA, is there a bar you can walk into and sit down and be like, old CR's back? The usual CR?
Yo, CR!
You don't have
How's
one of those?
Liverpool doing?
You want to have margarita? That'll be $27.
Yeah. The My Neighbor is Stripping music in this.
Now, this is what was used in Air, right?
Yes.
It's that music.
De Palma did not like it. Coming up later. What do you have for What's Age the Best?
The Peter meter.
What do you think that was that she did? Was it just that dance?
I don't know.
Was there anything else on top of that?
It's just so great that
It was her routine.
Yeah.
But what else is in the route? Is it can't just be that dance.
I think that's her move.
Okay. Just dancing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, then she does the bend over.
Yeah.
Back up. Does this some more. Bend over
Can you
again.
stand and
roll
show
over.
us?
Definitely not.
I also really love when Sam is like, I've had some creative differences with the Seattle Repertory Theater. Like, it's such a bullshit reason. But yeah, those are my two.
Vampire's Kiss became an actual movie with Nicolas Cage. That's gotta be on there.
Apparently titled after this movie, this fake movie.
Bret Easton Ellis' American Psycho. This was Patrick Bateman's favorite movie. Talked about it over and over
He
again.
rented it 37 times on video cassette.
Porn actress Holly Body took her stage name from this movie.
One of your faves.
What a ripple effect.
Big career for her.
It's incredible.
Dakota Johnson's mom is Melanie Griffith. That's a good What's Age the Best.
Yeah.
She's made some kind of kinky movies.
Melanie Griffith's mom is Tippi Hedren, who starred in Hitchcock movies.
An incredible lineage.
And
It
other What's
honestly
Age the
is.
Best?
I mean, this movie as a standalone being a flop and then becoming literally one of the most influential movies of the 1980s, I think, on a generation of filmmakers and on a generation of extremely horny dudes who don't have access to porn. Like, that's straight up.
Yeah. I also
true.
think just self-applying 3.5 hours of makeup to become the Indian must be really high up there. And What's Age the Best?
I would say the Indian has not aged well.
No, it's not. Fortune 3 Clap Award for Most Gifable Moment. Probably CR doing his imitation of Craig Wasson in Claustrophobia.
The Peter meter routine is very good.
Yeah. Great Shot Order Award recovered. So, Den at Thieves Benihana Award for Scene Stealing Location is obviously the house. It's called the Chemisphere, located just off Mulholland Drive in Hollywood Hills. Once described by Encyclopedia Britannica as the most modern home built in the world, built in 1960 by architect John Lautner. I have no idea how much it's worth now. Seems like a pretty weird place to live.
I thought it was on sale for like 1.5 in the 2010s.
They did you see that the Elliot Gould apartment from Long Goodbye was for sale?
I did.
But it's actually kind of beat up. a little bit, right?
This was a couple of years ago.
Okay.
The best thing that's ever been for sale, and I have a lot of regrets, is the Boogie Nights house.
Yeah.
Is that in Tarzana?
No,
Or where's
No, it was in
it's further away, right?
Inland Empire, kind of?
it was going toward where Zoe used to play soccer.
Okay.
Wherever that
I forget.
was.
I mean,
it's like 35 minutes.
You
away.
seriously thought about it.
Well, we thought about, could we just, this is when we're on our own, could we just film Ringer videos from the Boogie Nights house? And then
Ringer
we realized how stupid
videos.
that was. Yeah.
I'm ready to shoot, Bill.
It's in Covina.
Covina,
West
yeah.
That's right.
West Covina. The Butch's Girlfriend Award, weak link of the film. CR mentioned it earlier. The reservoir ending is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like they kind of ran out of time and they're like, did you come up with the ending
It's just
yet?
when
I didn't.
It's when someone on set or the screenwriter or somebody needed to like grab BDP and just be like, hey man, like this is gonna look cool, but makes no sense.
He says that the location scout found this spot and he was like, what do you think of this spot? And he was like, that's cool. I want to do something there. So they basically bend the movie around finding this reservoir. That's just cinema ahead of story. That's kind of how he thinks.
Yeah. And it also that's where the movie sort of like detaches from reality. Cause like Jake has the sort of weird dream sequence where he's telling off Ruben, but it has not yet been rehired. Then he like climbs out of a seemingly like bottomless grave that this guy has been digging. But it's just a very strange moment. The white flash of the backlight, like for a second there.
But some of the staging, especially the dog breaking out of the car and jumping on Sam, is like awesome. Like, it's a great little action sequence.
Tough beat for the dog.
Yeah.
I think it's the same dog. I think he said this from the Sam Fuller movie White Dog, which is about a racist dog. A dog that is trained to be racist. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, White Dog.
The dog lives. Dog lives.
Oh, it does?
In my mind, it does.
Oh,
All
okay.
dogs live.
It's a beautiful dog.
I think Sam died, but the dog.
But the dog just swam off to freedom.
So, Sam can't swim. What's the story there?
Well, he
I don't know.
falls quite a distance.
Those reservoirs are tough.
Yeah.
It's a lot of holes. What stage the worst? Mentioned the acting class teacher. Calling the killer the Indian throughout the movie. Probably not getting away with that anymore. Not enough cocaine for me.
Mm-hmm.
I needed somebody doing some bumps somewhere, maybe in the Barney's Beanery Bar.
It's a very chaste porn environment where nobody seems to be high. They're all
the porn set. I just feel like cocaine is everywhere when they're filming this movie, and to pretend it wasn't was a weird choice.
Linda Shaw seems a little disassociated during her scene.
Yeah, no question. And then like Jake not having sex with Holly and just spilling the beans. Still don't understand that plan. Might have brought it up maybe during coffee the next day.
Hey, you know what?
But that's the whole point of his character, right?
He's just a loser.
Cuck daddy.
Yeah. What do you have? Anything?
I wish I had a mug with me, but the way that Jake drinks coffee at the farmer's market is like this. He puts the backstage, like the theater guide down, and he just goes like this.
Like he's drinking soup?
And it's just like, this guy needs to get cheated on more. You know what I mean?
Jake sucks.
Like, it's so annoying.
There should have been two guys in that bedroom.
I think that for as idiosyncratic as it is, and with no disrespect to him, this Craig Wasson's whole vibe is probably why this film is not as popular as it possibly could have been.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, that's a very difficult character to spend 2 hours with. Like his performance.
It's part of it. I think there's also just like a surreal, satirical tone that's pretty hard to wrap your head around if you don't already want to be like, look at naked Melanie Griffith or whatever other draws the movie might have.
The other thing that's aged worse is just Sam's conspiracy / plan. Like what was he? He seems like he did the most complicated version of killing your wife.
I have a lot of nitpicks for this later.
I think also what's aged the worst is dating this movie to come out the same day as The Terminator.
Is that true?
And a significant actor in that movie passed on this movie reportedly to do The Terminator.
Yeah, we could get that.
Yeah. Ruffalo Hannah
October
Rubinek,
26, 1984. Yeah.
Ruffalo Hannah Rubinek Partridge overacting award. I'm going with the police detective who gives Jake shit after the murder. Oh, so you're supposed to tell me? Like, what is that guy? What performance is that?
Doesn't it seem, though, like he is a cop in a Hitchcock movie in the
from
60s?
1942.
Yeah.
You're a peeper. In my book, that's a pervert and a sex offender. It's like, okay, thanks for the definition.
It's just a weird
when
scene.
He calls
it's two
him
bad
later,
actors.
It's so funny because like the guy is just like, oh yeah, Scully, what's that? And like he just tells him the whole plot of like it's so weird.
I almost would have had rather had like Leslie Nielsen as the cop.
Yeah.
And just had somebody who was kind of like secretly funny. Was there a better title for this movie? No way. The CR thinks Luke Wilson could have been Harrison Ford hottest take award. What do you have, CR?
I think if I'm Jake, after my first 2 days in the porn industry, I just stay. Like, I just think that that's like the growth industry for him. He's already doing on-camera feature work and pornography after one audition.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could have been the Harrison Ford of 80s porn.
And had to work on the cum shots.
Yeah, he might have to work on the cum shots.
Yeah.
But I thought that...
Pulling out, aiming, just a lot of stuff. That
It's an art form.
Yeah. And if he has to do a cum shot in any kind of tight space, who knows how the claustrophobia kicks in. But I thought he seemed like a natural and he should have stuck with it.
And now he's got the chemisphere to shoot in.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
All-time porn set.
It's very true. My hottest take is confirmation that I will never be running for public office, but I think we should be having unsimulated sex
in movies.
Like, I really think if the actors want to do that, that's going to make the movie more interesting.
It's weird that that's still like the final frontier.
It is the last thing you can't do.
Yeah.
A couple like really...
Like Terrifier 3 can happen.
Which is way crazier
people
in
can't
terms of what is
fuck.
portrayed.
Well, think about the Chloe Sevigny piece of this.
Yeah.
The Brown Bunny.
Yeah. I mean, that like basically ruined her career for a couple years.
She's back. She's
but that
okay.
was also 20 plus years
But that
ago.
was considered the most transgressive thing that a famous person could do in a movie pretty much ever. There's the rumors, about like Don't Look Now, for example, that Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie were having sex in that scene and unconfirmed. And there have been some suggestions over the years that there are some scenes where the actors are having sex. I'm sure that's true. But
they always said that with Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger.
Didn't we do a Rewatchable
Getaway,
where we were basically like...
Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
They said Michael J. Fox with the wolf costume on.
Yeah.
One of the actresses was like, I got to get in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was unsimulated.
But did he have a wolf cock?
Unsimulated.
Holy shit, Bill.
Yeah. I'm with you on this.
Thank you.
It
Thanks
is
for
the last
supporting me.
frontier. My hottest take, it's mild. I think this is the best integration of the porn world into a mainstream movie ever. This, just how they do it. It's not the whole movie. We just dip into this for 15 minutes, and every beat of it is absolutely perfect, including Sid Goldberg and that whole show.
Yeah,
and then we're out.
It's like he has mastered that idiom.
It's so good.
So
it's a whole separate movie in the movie,
Yeah.
which are sometimes my favorite movies, where it's like this. We're in this whole world for 15 minutes. I'm like, let's go into this world. This is cool.
Boogie Nights,
Boogie Nights, but
Hardcore.
hardcore. Zach and Miri make a porno.
Wonderland, right?
Wonderland,
8mm.
8mm.
That's
Orgasmo,
specific kind of
the Trey
porno.
Parker, Matt Stone movie. What are some other movies that are set in the world of porn? There's more.
Zach and whatever.
We did that, yeah.
That one was awful.
Yeah, Kevin Smith.
There's not that many.
There's a couple more that I'm forgetting. People versus Larry Flint.
Sure.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Casting what ifs. De Palma thought about, there's been a lot of like conflicting research about this, but he thought about a very famous porn star named Annette Haven to play Holly Body, and met her, spent a lot of times with her, gave her stuff to read.
Spent a lot of times with her.
He said she'd never been given lines. I sort of sent her to acting school. I videotaped her doing long interviews. Some of the things she said were put into Holly Body's dialogue. I ultimately tested her, and the only other girl I wanted to play the part was Melanie Griffith. Melanie blew out of the sky. Then De Palma says, strangely enough, Annette wasn't that sexy, but I used Annette to give us advice while we were shooting the film.
Annette Haven also a huge influence on Boogie Nights and appears in Boogie Nights.
Yeah, it seems like the directors loved her, and then when they met her, they were like,
I get the impression she was just very smart and a great communicator.
very smart,
Yeah.
and like kind of low energy, which for a movie like this, you needed. One of the great things about Holly Body is she's so funny and quirky.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he then offered the role to Linda Hamilton, who turned it down and did Terminator instead. What a fucking what if that is.
Crazy sliding door. Crazy one. Could Melanie Griffith have been in the Terminator?
Jesus.
Wow.
Probably not, but maybe.
But yeah, like it's like I don't think I would have thought of Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor before that. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Like,
and you think of, when you hear Sarah Connor, you think of T2 and when she's all jacked, but she's not like that in
no,
the first Terminator.
she's like a waitress or something. Yeah.
it's a good sliding doors for Linda Hamilton's career because if she's in this movie first, I don't know what happens after that.
She might go away.
Yeah.
I
think it all played out correctly.
The Jamie Lee Curtis story is like that he basically asked Melanie Griffith to introduce him to Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis says no. And Melanie Griffith is like, well, why don't you just let me read for it, right? There's
her, Carrie Fisher, Tatum O'Neal were like considered.
Okay.
But who knows? As we know with the casting what ifs, as the years pass, they just start throwing names.
Everybody in this town was interested in playing.
Diane Lane looked at it. Like, you just never know.
Carrie Fisher has a very different energy from Melanie Griffith, but she does have the Holly body attitude. You know, like smart, cynical.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been interesting.
It's actually kind of the role she should have done after the 3 Star Wars movies.
Something to break the archetype.
But
you almost
was
wonder
like that
if
in
she
real life.
had done that if... Like, is she ever in another in the sequel Star Wars movies?
I think the sequels were done though.
No, I mean the ones that she did at the end of her life.
If she sullies her reputation, I don't know. She made some weird movies after Star Wars.
Because I think she should have made movies like this.
Yeah.
I think she was a way more interesting actress than the
totally
thing she
agree.
picked.
Totally agree.
De Palma really wanted Sylvia Christel for the role of Gloria Revelle, who played Emmanuel in all those movies. Like a pretty big softcore porn actress.
Yep. Speaking of European erotic thrillers,
unavailable.
Yeah.
And then speaking of her in the Golden Globus documentary, which I watched for Over the Top,
was loving you and Kyle praising that doc.
It's
love that doc.
But they have a whole Sylvia Christel section about how she had like a drinking problem and was like messed up on the set. So I don't know if that would work for Gloria. And then they Helen Shaver's dubbing the lines for Deborah Shelton, as we discussed. Real life porn actors in the movie: the great Linda Shaw, Alexandra Day, Cara Lott, Melissa Scott, Barbara Peckinpah, and Annette Haven, and then Stephen Bauer as a cameo as a male porn actor.
Also,
in the big scene.
Is it Michael Kearns, the guy who's like, I'm not just a stunt cock?
Yeah,
that guy's actually a porn actor too.
Yeah. He's your favorite porn actor.
Yeah. Hey, we never get to give this one out either. The Clint Howard Award for the director loves this guy. Dennis Franz and De Palma, 5 straight films together.
What about Greg Henry?
Greg Henry, first of 5 with De Palma. I was thinking if I was a famous director, I would 100% do this. I would have like my 5 or 6.
Gotta have your guys.
Yeah. My guys, my ladies.
It would
just
be like Pacino, De Niro, and then Joe House.
So many of my favorite directors do this.
Yeah.
You know, Preston Sturges does this, where you have your troupe, you have your 4 or 5 people who know how to do your
Chris Guest
stuff.
did this.
Yeah.
PTA's kind of done this.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Scorsese has guys that he goes back to over and over again. Yeah.
Best That Guy award. Is Greg Henry that guy or is he Greg Henry?
I think that this
the
point,
number
he's
3 guy in this movie.
If you're a De Palma fan, he's Greg fucking Henry.
I think he's Greg Henry.
If you don't know De Palma movies, you're like, that's the guy from The Thing that I can't.
Yeah.
So
what do you think it is about him that De Palma is so attracted to?
That he looks like John Tesh?
I think he's
like,
you're cooking today. I like this.
He almost always plays a very untrustworthy guy.
Yeah.
You know, a guy who's like really kind of slimy. And I think De Palma needs those guys in his movies.
He was the kind of guy when I was growing up would have been the guy on Charlie's Angels who got involved with Cheryl Ladd in the first half hour, but then it turned out he was the bad guy. Yeah. Like he had that. There was just specific actors who just got pigeonholed as those guys. My vote for Best That Guy is Larry Flash Jenkins, who was in season 3 of The White Shadow. He was in Fletch as the guy with George Wendt, who was involved in the drug scheme.
He's the guy. He's up on
the black guy.
Beach. Yeah,
right. He's just in a lot of these movies, and he plays Dennis Franz's like assistant director or key grip.
Right.
Dion Waiters Award. I mean, Barbara Crampton is another one who
That's
could be
who
Best
I have.
That Guy.
Crampton's look that like just kills Scully.
But she's not that guy.
No, for Dion Waiters.
For Dion. Okay.
Oh, no. Let me give you all the nominees. Dennis Franz eligible.
Okay.
Frankie from Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Linda Shaw, the body double in the end credits, or my choice for winner, porn video host Sid Goldberg.
Goldberg's a good shout.
I like Goldberg. I did not know that man's name. You made it sound like he was like a legend in the industry. I had never heard of him.
I did not make it sound like that.
You're like, that's Sid Goldberg.
I have the box set.
And I believe you have a film opening this week at the Pussy Flick Theater. Sid Goldberg. If they're deleted scenes of Sid Goldberg, send them my way, please.
Can you imagine me like, like, hey, can I get you a coffee? It's like, shh, Goldberg's on.
Yes.
I gotta find out what's opening at the Pussy Flick.
They used to have. Remember when I told you guys about WHT? That was like the HBO and how there were movies that were on and they would be first run movies.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have at 11 o'clock. They used to have a porn talk show hosted by I think it was Gloria Leonard. Maybe was her name.
Okay,
and she would just have guests on, and they would have. It was basically like Johnny Carson with porn, and the people would come on. And they would talk about their movie. They would play a clip, which was like heavily edited because they weren't allowed to show actual porn. But it was, I think that's what they were ripping off with these.
Yeah, there was a public access show like this.
Yeah,
in
there's
New York
another one. Yeah,
with a blonde porn actress who affected a kind of like Carson of porn. I can't remember her name, but it was also a call-in show.
Oh, so you could be like, hey,
and she would take
this
calls
is Sean
like that
from Long Island.
Yeah. I can't remember her name, but she's a legend too.
Well, then Playboy Channels had Night Calls, which was the 90s version of that. Recasting Couch Director City. What about Kathleen Turner as Gloria? Perfect time in her career. You don't have to dub her voice. The camera could just watch her walking around.
Would have worked well.
I guess there's the body heat kind of tie-in, which is maybe... but she's like Man with Two Brains.
I mean, like,
I was going to say Romancing the Stone is like this year, right?
Do you think that if you had like whatever happened with this actress, like, do you think if you had a different actress, like this character would have more to do and have more to say?
No, I think she just needs to look beautiful, which she does.
Mm-hmm.
But then you need the voice, which obviously she shouldn't have. Tony Romo or Chris Collinsworth or someone else for the director's commentary.
I got for Doris.
Okay.
I see you, Mr. Scully, or should I say, Mr. Cuck, coming off your nightmare season of acute panic attacks and finding your girlfriend Carol riding another man. You've put in the work. You peeped on a woman, stole her underwear, and watched her get murdered by her own husband dressed as a deformed Native American. Now you're here on the set of a Holly body porno, being escorted to a fuck session by 80s new romantic legends Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Salute to you, Jake.
And what do you think, Richard Jefferson? I'm running. I'm running Ruco back. Can a 40-inch electric drill completely obliterate Gloria Ravel's torso? You bet. I texted with Ruco, by the way. He's fired up.
I assume
Did you text Doris?
So Ruco texted me. He's like, "This is great.
This is a huge
Keep
win
the
for
U-bet
Ruco."
going."
Yeah.
I was like,
we found out about
I was
this
like,
yet?
we need U-bet to get to where Bang is.
Yeah.
Light pole, got it. That's some of your best work.
Half-assed at research. LA locations. Tail of the Pup. Beverly Center. Was the Beverly Center in this or just the parking part of Beverly Center?
I don't know.
I don't remember
What would
seeing
be
the Beverly Center. I don't know. It's allegedly in there. Barney's Beanery, Farmer's Market, Rodeo Collection, Hollywood Tower,
Crossroads
Tower
is there,
Records, and the Chemist Fair.
Is that actually Tower? It doesn't look like the Tower to me. It just looks like a video store exterior.
I think there were a couple Tower Records out here, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would probably go with the Chemosphere.
As the most LA location. The set for the Frankie Goes to Hollywood sequence was used the next year for the nightclub scene in Fright Night.
I just watched it yesterday. That's so
No
funny. That
way.
scene is amazing too. I
Yeah.
love Fright Night. That's a rewatchable to me. That's such a great movie.
I actually like the remake of that too.
They're both good.
Some of the artsy fartsy writing about this movie said how voyeurism provides an illusory imaginative form of control, which Jake had lost because he was emasculated and cucked. So now you have to watch to gain your control back.
Did they use the word cucked in that piece
No,
of
they did
literary
not.
criticism?
I threw that in
No, that
there.
was Doris Burke.
Doris did that. Jake's car, 1967 Chevrolet Camaro RS convertible.
Were you ever a jump into the car guy?
No.
Have you ever tried that?
No, it's super
God,
dangerous.
I wish I could do it. I mean, I don't have a convertible right now, but forever.
You should just jump into a stranger's convertible.
Some guy going back from the Dodgers parade. I should just jump in.
De Palma is upset that there's a rumor about that he had women coming up to his house for months and months, masturbating for him as he tried to find Holly body. That was a persistent rumor after the film.
And how did he express his disappointment?
He
in that
said,
rumor?
this rumor went on for decades. It was ridiculous. The only girl who really came up to my house was Annette
Yeah.
Haven. When we worked on the material together, And Melanie, who worked with Annette to work on the masturbating at the window routine that I basically worked on in my house on the hill.
It's just work.
I would go outside with a camera and let Melanie just go through her routine that Annette has taught her. This rumor went on for decades. It's a rumor that never dies. I'm still not
there's
ruling
fire?
it out.
Yeah.
Maybe 3-4 more people went up there. Who knows?
It's a great way to get an interesting reputation to be like, God, this rumor's been following me around.
Yeah.
Women want to come up to my apartment and masturbate. Gosh.
It's like Giannis being like, why do you guys think I want to be traded
Yeah.
to Miami? Stop bringing it up.
Yeah.
Definitely not to Miami.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Houston? Not that I'd want to go there.
Why do you guys keep reporting I don't like Dame?
The videotape of Melanie Griffith's bedroom jewelry masturbation test audition was destroyed at her request because De Palma had kept it. She's like, hey, can you get rid of that?
Or
now?
so she thinks.
Yeah.
When we
Palma's
discover
like, I've
in the
destroyed
CR
it.
archive.
Here it is. Apex Mountain. Craig Wasson. Def of fucking
Oh my God. Yeah. This is like first line of his obituary.
Yeah.
With all due respect.
His grandkids are like, Grandpa, you were in Body Double with Brian De Palma?
Yeah. He's 70 years old. Is he still acting? I like
Apparently he's a big audiobook narrator.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Wasson.
cool.
Maybe we'll have to work with him.
Good pivot.
Melanie Griffith, Apex Mountain. I'm going to say working girl.
I agree.
De Palma, no.
That's probably Scarface.
It's in the blowout to
It's
Scarface.
Untouchables, right? Untouchable.
Oh, Untouchables.
Like,
maybe.
isn't that
I
like
feel
the
like
big
Scarface was a bigger movie.
Was
no?
it?
I thought so.
Fuck the fucking
Carrie,
Diaz
too,
brothers.
is obviously huge.
Fuck the fucking Diaz brothers? Is that what you said?
I think it's got to be Scarface because it gets him the 3-picture deal that lets him make Body Double.
That's good.
When we do Scarface, that's when the feed is over. Used to be Boogie Nights.
Good.
What do you mean?
No, I'm just saying. I used to say it was Boogie Nights. Now it's Scarface.
Yeah. Because we're going to method pod.
Scarface that'll be 7 hours.
Giant mountain of cocaine right here on the table.
Just huge cocaine right there.
But we'll be like Brian De Palma will be like, I'm not on cocaine.
I'm just interested in these worlds.
Only one person masturbated for me.
Stop putting the rumor out that I'm podcasting while high on cocaine.
80s porn and movies, definitely. Greg Henry? What is it for him?
I think it's this.
I think it's this.
This
Yeah.
is the most critical role he's had in a movie.
Frankie Goes to Hollywood, definitely. I mean, this is their songs coming out. They're on
I think
SNL.
they're pretty big.
But this movie, they're on SNL like the start of the next season. The album's out. It's somewhere in 84.
Okay.
This is it.
Their song, The Power of Love, just played a big part in that movie, All of Us Strangers, last year. And it was the first time I'd heard a Frankie Goes to Hollywood song that wasn't relaxed in like 20 years.
I remember that. That was
Just putting that out there. Have you seen All of Us Strangers?
Who's in that one?
Paul Mescal, Andrew Scott. I have a really good bit about that movie that I'll share
I
with you off
skipped it.
mic.
You save it for the Scarface pod?
Yeah.
I almost did for my hottest take that Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Queen were a lot closer than people want to admit.
In terms of the
We mean
quality of their
musically or
work.
popularity?
In terms of the ceiling of how good they were. I was workshopping and I couldn't quite get there.
Is that complimentary to Frankie Goes to Hollywood or derogatory about Queen?
It's the latter.
Well,
right?
just that I think Relax is as good as any Queen song.
I'm not a huge fan of either, but I think that there are some Queens like.
I think Queen is incredible, so I don't know
Well,
what
that's
you're
why
talking
I,
about.
that's
yeah.
why I
Are you a
didn't
big
do
Queen
it.
fan?
Yeah.
That's why I
think Brian May
workshopped
is
it and decided not to
insane.
go with it.
Yeah. There's some, I mean, now cocaine is something that they have in common, I think. I think there was a lot of cocaine involved there. I was listening to like a late period Queen album the other day, and you could hear the cocaine in Freddie Mercury's throat.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
Telescopes? Telescopes in a movie?
Yeah, telescopes, rotating beds.
Rotating Beds is a good one.
Jeez.
Cheesy acting class scenes?
Barry?
Yeah.
Austin
one.
Powers rotating bed?
Good one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Body double scenes that are outgoing about how it's a body double scene.
Yes. Outgoing?
What did she say? Like my breasts are very tender.
Yeah.
My period.
She also looks different than her
Totally
skin
different.
color is different
Yeah.
than the other girl too.
I feel like that's part of the joke, right?
Crazy cool LA houses used as a character in a movie. What's been better than this?
I think Heat's better.
Greenberg?
Greenberg? Who the fuck's seen Greenberg?
What do you mean?
What are you talking about?
Who the fuck's seen Greenberg?
It came and went in 5 minutes.
That's a liked movie. What do you mean?
Greenberg?
Greenberg heads visit Bill Simmons.
Are they good houses?
Come through. No, the house that he stays in. He's like house sitting. That's the whole premise of Greenberg.
Cruise or Hanks? We're thinking Hanks.
Fuck, guys.
Wait, no,
Greenberg?
Noah Baumbach movie. Ben Stiller.
It's fine.
Cruise or Hanks?
It's Hanks.
Both. One is the Indian, one is Jake. Who plays who?
Oh, a tie?
Yeah.
So Hanks plays Sam Bouchard / the Indian?
Yeah. Or Cruise. I could see Cruise being like...
sorry, Cruise plays it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cruise has to be Sam in the Indian.
Because you could see Cruise being like, hey, small world, small town. We keep popping up at these auditions together, you know?
Yeah. The like slick, smarmy
That's
thing
pretty
Cruise
interesting.
can do.
Hanks is definitely the Craig Wasson.
Yeah, I agree.
think he would have done that.
I agree.
So who wins that one then, Craig?
Hanks, right? Hanks is the lead.
Yeah.
Racehorse, rock band, wrestler, fantasy team name. Holly Does Hollywood as a racehorse? I don't know.
Water sports.
Water sports.
That's right.
Pick a nits. Jake is so dumb that he can't figure out his girlfriend's fucking another guy in her room for 75 seconds, but yet he can piece together this elaborate murder plot. I just wanted to start there.
Yeah, I mean, that whole opening sequence where Jake should at least be picking up on the vibes that he might not be asked back to the set after ruining the shot. And yet he's like, I think I'll just get hot dogs and just go back to my cool girlfriend. So it's like Carol and Jake.
It's tough when your character is a total dipshit. Because then any of the plot holes, you're like, well, he's a loser.
Right. But then he somehow figures it out in 5 seconds. What do you have? Because I have a lot of nitpicks.
I mean, the biggest one is just like is Sam's plan and just how elaborate it requires. Tons of makeup, multiple cars, multiple like he has the one house that Gloria's living in, and he has the Cinesphere or whatever, this roundhouse that he's also able to work out of. So it's just like it just seems there was a much straighter line to killing your wife.
I wrote Sam Bouchard, rich guy pretending he's an actor to set up a murder. Should I start doing this? Should I start going to acting classes and looking for my prey?
Yeah, that's right.
And I'll get makeup.
You lifted the veil there.
Thanks.
That was good. I think there's you could break down each step though, because so he wants to have a witness. So he wants someone to see him kill his wife.
But think it's somebody else.
It has to be a good enough costume that they think it's someone else. This is one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard of. He is going to be witnessed killing someone, and the first time you see him as the Indian, you're like, that's Greg Henry.
Yeah, exactly.
The minute you see him, you're like, that's clearly the guy we just saw. So even in the unreality of the movie, it's the dumbest plan of all time.
Yeah.
He would have been better off telling his wife that he also owned the Chemisphere, telling her to come up for a drink, and then just shoving her down the stairs and being like, she fell.
Yeah,
she was
the
drunk.
funicular didn't work. Yes.
Yeah. So Alan, he was saying how Alan, the cool house owner, who's letting Sam house sit there, but he had to leave for 5 weeks, and he had to find somebody who's leaving tomorrow. So if he didn't find anyone, nobody's watering the plants.
Premise of they go to Barney's. Is he waiting for? I guess he already knows Jake's looking for a place because he hears him in the first audition being like, "Oh, you got anything right?"
How about this? Was he the one fucking his girlfriend?
I wondered about that for a second, but
as
probably
the Indian.
not. Yeah.
Where is Gloria when Holly Body is just dancing in her living room every night?
Question.
I don't know.
Bedroom at night at 9
Shopping for underwear? I have no
9 p.m.?
idea.
Great question. Maybe she's at the beach house.
Could you figure out how to have somebody in your bedroom at 9 p.m. every night? Be like, Eileen, could you go in the TV room from 9 to 9:30?
Well, it's just also yeah.
it's absurd.
Yeah. Do they
and
have
she's there the next morning.
Yeah.
So where the fuck was
that's
she
a
at
good
9
point.
o'clock?
That's a good point. Well, maybe she has a social life.
Who's Gloria call? From the payphone when she's like, I have to see you. He hit me again. Who's she talking to?
Presumably someone she's having an affair with, which is maybe one of the reasons why he's killing her.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Need a little more details on that. Jake kept Gloria's underpants in his pocket for 10 hours and then went home. Just kept him in
I
there.
mean, he basically wears one outfit for the entire movie.
He does. He's dressed like a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Alexander Ravel's scheme of killing his wife,
Mm-hmm.
pretending someone else did it, but also pretending to be Sam Bouchard, the barely working actor. Wouldn't they have written about this in a newspaper?
Yeah.
Wouldn't there have been a picture of her and her husband? And wouldn't
Anybody been like, that's the guy from our acting classes?
Jake have maybe seen his picture? Like, wasn't there a risk of Jake seeing the picture of the husband?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, this is a big one. Is getting into porn in 1984, was it really that easy?
This
you
is
just get to be the lead actor in a
I had
Holly
an
Body
unanswerable
movie in
question about
1
this.
second.
Yeah, it's like you just walk into an audition and
Even in hardcore, like Jim Jism had to kind of work for getting
Yeah,
the scene.
he put in the hours. He was in the minor leagues for a while. I'm going to go the other way. I think that you could do it.
You just walk in.
But
They're making so much porn back then.
if you have the tools necessary.
well, because he's got a familiarity with the audition process, how to call a production office, probably,
Mhm,
right? So he's got a little bit of a foot inside the door, and maybe there's a lot of intimidation out there. You know, maybe people weren't like, "Oh, yeah, I could just step right into this."
I think if you're equipped
Yeah.
properly,
Well, this is a huge unanswerable question: was Jake packing?
I mean,
well, he's getting
everything
cheated
about
on
him.
the first 10
I
minutes.
know.
Yeah, everything about him tells us no. And yet, he feels very comfortable in this environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is Sam's makeup as the Indian this good?
Or was
Who's
it?
applying it? Though?
They
like,
said-
that's the
they
thing.
said
Is he
to do
doing
the
like
makeup-
it's like a paper mache head.
They said to do Greg Henry's makeup, it took 3.5 hours every day. This guy's just fucking whipping it on. He's like, I'm the Indian now. Woo, here's my power drill.
De Palma is such a freak. This is such a stupid story. This movie's so amazing.
Why did Sam pick Holly Body as the dancer who was
A big
probably
porn
the
star.
most famous porn star at the time? Why
Yeah.
not pick like
Some girl at Cheetahs.
porn star
Yeah.
number 4?
I think it's because of her remarkable resemblance to his wife. Isn't that part of it? I mean, I forgot to
Physically,
mention,
yes.
rewatchable scene. The most rewatchable scene is the first time you see her dancing.
Yeah.
To say, is that Deborah Shelton or is
more
that Melanie Griffith?
Right.
Any other nitpicks?
No.
Why does Sam keep bringing that dog with him everywhere?
He's a huge dog
Just
fan.
leave that dog at home.
I know.
What are
Yeah.
you doing?
Love
Led
dogs.
to your demise.
Yeah.
He thought he had it though with Kill. He's like, Kill.
Sequel, prequel, Prestige TV, all black cast or untouchable. I'm all in on Prestige TV as a remake.
Oh,
I
interesting.
think would be really good.
Oh,
Putting it in
interesting.
2025 and like
Mhm.
the fucking OnlyFans era.
Yeah, that's great.
I think I would like to have the sequel of Holly and Jake, branching into pornography, either
Like
together as a
opening-
couple or
Opening Holly Body Productions?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And he's cosplaying as the producer, but also like at home is like this normal self-effacing guy. I love it.
They hired Tracy Lords and there's like this new actress, Tracy.
Yeah.
She has all her ID. It's great. And then Tracy Lords brings down Holly Body Productions and Jake.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Should pursue that.
De Palma, get that. Is De Palma still working?
Not really, but yeah, I wish he was.
Prestige TV, I think, would be really good. Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins, Danny Trejo, Sam Jackson, Nell, JT Walsh, Byron Mayo, Harling Mays, Eva Laffey, Ramon Raymond, Longlegs, or Philip Baker Hall? What do you got, Sierra?
I definitely think it's just Byron Mayo, and I can't even decide what scene Byron would talk
He's Sid Goldberg.
Yeah, he's basically
He's in the
Sid.
hot tub with
He's
them.
just like, what's next at the pussy flick?
Oh,
God.
Hey, Linda.
Are you sure Nell shouldn't be Holly Body?
Oh, my God. Doing the dance. She's like,
Do you think would long legs have been a good AD on the porn set? There's no cum shots.
I don't see the cum. We have to do it again. Oh, man.
I can't look at you guys in the eyes.
What's wrong, John? Just one Oscar who gets it. It has to be Melanie Griffith. Best Supporting Actress?
I had Stephen H. Burham, but sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
What about Brian De Palma?
No, yeah. Who's he competing against in 84? It's like out of Africa?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that's
It's
what
like
it is.
that's the year,
Eat
right?
shit, Sidney Pollack. Like,
Yeah, I mean, out of Africa versus Body Double, it's Body Double 100 times out of 100. It's not even close.
Where do you guys stand on the Killing Fields?
pretty into it.
I like it. It's a really weird pivot in this conversation.
Yeah.
Well, it's also 84. I think
Yeah.
that was nominated that year too.
That's Roland Joffe.
It is.
I really like that movie. Probably unanswerable questions. What would have happened if Tracy Lords accidentally ended up in this movie? Because they had to destroy all the movies she was
because
in.
they were doing like they were casting from around.
She
the porn
easily
world,
could have
yeah.
been in the.
Was she
background.
making movies in 84?
I think that's when it started. She
Okay.
easily could have been like one of the people. What would they have done at that point? Would all the body double cassettes have been pulled?
I wonder if the controls around this stuff were more intense because it was a Hollywood production.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh
You know?
yeah, that's a good point.
You know, I don't know, but I assume, especially because the studio was like, there's no way you're casting in Ed Haven, for example.
I have no idea why the rumor that Tracy Lords was in this movie came about.
I looked at all her ID.
It's a really fascinating question, though, about what would have happened to it.
Yeah.
I always wondered what would have happened if she had been just in a movie. How they would have handled
Oh,
that.
like even if she was just like in 48 hours. Or
I guess
something?
if she's
Yeah.
not having sex, maybe that's.
I think that's been the issue. I mean, she goes on
But
to be in
if
movies.
she was in the porn scene in that one, they would have had to like get rid of the scene.
Yeah.
Um,
She's in a John Waters movie like 3 years later.
what's the worst position to walk in on your girlfriend fucking another guy in a movie?
The worst position that she's in?
Yeah. Because they usually have the girl on top when they do this, but
Yeah.
I think doggy style would be the most humiliating.
I
So
honestly
it's unanswerable.
so unprepared for that. So Goldberg, huh?
I just worked so hard in my career, you know?
Well, everyone always goes same position. I'm just trying to give you other choices.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we can move on.
I think you're right, Bill. Yeah.
Is it possible? Is it possible, Jake? Is it possible he imagined this whole movie?
I think it would be for me. It would be doggy style, but getting fucked by long legs.
Oh my god!
Is this your boyfriend? He's short.
Is it possible Jake imagined this whole movie?
Yeah,
I think so.
it's possible. It's happening like in his
Because he has his
Yeah.
job back at the end.
Yeah.
He gets his job back like twice. Weirdly, yeah.
And doesn't it feel that surreality of the whole movie? Doesn't that feel like when you're in a dream and you're like, this is really happening? This
Yeah.
is really happening. Then you wake up and you're like, of course that wasn't happening. Why was I in this sort of real experience that actually you can't make real?
Because the tip-offs would be the 360-degree kiss on the beach. Just that whole scene is
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
and
Preposterous,
the ending, but like I mean, what's the
reservoir is
You
ridiculous.
think about the acting teaching scene when he's just like, you shouldn't be fucking with his head. Like, what gives you the right to be fucking with his head? What if he fucked Jake up by like taking him back to this memory of like him
Yeah.
not being able to scream out, and it's basically a projection.
Yeah, I always read it as it starts at the very first scene when he's having the claustrophobia while he's shooting the movie. But I don't know.
It would be funny if De Palma like gave some De Palma interview and he's like, I can't believe people thought like he didn't imagine the whole movie. Of course he did.
Yeah.
Watch the first scene and
He never did say anything like that, though, right?
No.
Yeah.
best double feature choice. I could give you Just to Kill. I could also just give you Working Girl and you could do the Melanie Griffith before and after she became a massive star. Or I'd give you an early Hitchcock.
Yeah, I was gonna do Vertigo.
I think it's Vertigo.
Okay.
I just saw Vertigo on a big screen a couple months ago, and they're very similar, these two movies.
How was it?
Beautiful, majestic. It's one of the best movies ever.
The Andy and Red Zawantne Award for what happened the next day. Can we walk through Holly Body's next few years?
Sure.
Mhm.
In the mid-'80s glory years of porn and cocaine?
I think she burns bright and then burns out.
Feels like it, right?
She's running headlong into the Jenna Jameson era, which is a different era of porn.
But that's like 10 years later.
Not that many, though. Like, by the time you get to the late 80s, you're headed into
You're
like
in
a
the
much
video
more
cassettes.
commercialized
Yeah.
version of porn. So does she make it to
She's got to
89?
bridge the eras, basically.
I mean, I don't really think that the movie that Jake gets back into, Vampire's Kiss, is like a springboard to mainstream success. So I imagine that
he's going full porn.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Maybe directing,
or behind the scenes, but
because we don't know if he's.
I do think there's
like
a path
horse.
where Holly Body and Jake do have a company together.
Yeah.
Kind of like The Ringer.
But why would Holly Body want to end up with Jake? Because Jake sucks.
That's why I can't. I mean, like, she's really like entertaining like his bullshit the entire time.
Yeah.
Maybe she sees him as a portal to the legitimate world.
Something about him she likes. What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie, other than the telescope?
Probably the drill,
the prosthetic mask, the Indian mask.
How about a Hollywood video cassette?
Sure.
Fake one. I don't know if they ever made that, but that would be a good one.
Okay.
I think the telescope would be pretty cool because you could actually use it.
Deborah Shelton's panties.
Stuff in your pocket for 10 hours.
Should have had them hanging out of my pocket this entire podcast.
I forgot these were in here. Fucking weirdo. Coach Finstock Award, best life lesson. Don't trust anyone you barely know who asks you to house sit.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I've met you twice, and I'm going to
if
house
it's
sit
too
for you
good
for
to be
5
true,
weeks.
it probably is.
Yeah.
Don't follow strangers
for long periods of time.
Yeah, that's
to Long
weird.
Beach. Who won the movie?
De Palma.
I think Melanie Griffith wins the movie.
I think Melanie Griffith wins it.
I love
she becomes
the movie,
a major
but-
star after this.
Yeah.
De Palma is like still bummed out that this movie didn't do well.
Okay.
The Something Wild Working Girl follow-up is dynamite.
But I do think this is a very important De Palma movie because one of the reasons that makes him is he did a couple of these that were just like, what the fuck was going on with that movie?
There's been writing about this, and I think he's even commented on this idea that he's not making movies specifically for a contemporary audience. They're made to be timeless, and I do think that there is a quality to this that feels that way.
I like that he almost always follows up a major pure commercial hit with a
Something
idiosyncratic
deranged.
indulgence, you know, and that like for every time you make a Mission Impossible or an Untouchables or Carlito's Way, there's a Raising Cane right around the corner. There's always a like, just don't forget I'm Brian De Palma.
Yeah. You like Raising Cane?
I do.
Can never get there.
It's very similar to this movie.
Yeah.
Do you like Carlito's Way?
I really don't like it that much.
Oh, I do.
It's really tough. It's a 5-star masterpiece.
Awesome movie. Sean Penn as his defense attorney.
I'll give it another whirl. It's just
I'm stunned, honestly. It's one of Pacino's absolute best.
I get it.
Did you read this Pacino memoir?
Is it out?
Yeah, it's out. I think we should all read it.
Should we do like a 20-minute YouTube?
Yeah.
Our favorite
Special
bits.
video?
Apparently there's
Let's
some
do it.
crazy stories in it of him just being deeply weird.
He said he never tried cocaine.
Yeah. Well, there's one of the stories.
I don't know where all these rumors come from that I did cocaine.
Yeah. Craig, what'd you think of Body Double?
I just want to say before this, for the record, I don't know who Nell is, and I don't want to know, and I'm enjoying it more because I
Okay,
don't
good.
know. I'm having a
Smart.
good time living in this Nell ignorance. There was a review about this movie about Body Double that I really liked. It's from the New York Times. The guy writes, De Palma again goes too far, which is the reason to see it. And I was like, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
I love it. If you're going to do it and you have the cachet to do it, then do it. And it's why I like Babylon, you know?
Yeah.
Take a swing.
Yeah, take a swing. I like movies where like, I don't think this movie's saying that much. I don't think this movie's like that deep, but it's just like a personal movie, a cynical movie made by a talented director about a murder mystery in Hollywood and the porn industry. And it looks beautiful. Like the sweeping camera movements, like it looks great. It's like a topic that he's like, I like this genre. I want to make it. It was when we talked about Blowout, and you were like, which is also De Palma, and you were like, I love when like A-list directors do like B-level genres.
Yeah.
And I think this falls under that, and it's so fun to watch.
It's my favorite thing.
What'd you think of Craig Wasson?
I actually liked him more than you guys did. I thought he was really well cast, and I thought he was good in the movie. Other than the claustrophobic face is a disaster. That was a mess.
Do you think you would feel differently about it if he had like 4 or 5 good, if like Scorsese cast him in his next movie and he was a known quantity?
He became a guy?
Yeah.
Like he became like Dreyfus
Yeah,
in the 80s?
yeah.
Like, could he have been in Reservoir Dogs as one of the guys?
Probably not.
That's so funny. But like, it's easy to write him off.
Could he have been the third guy in Jaws?
Too young, probably. Could he have been Dreyfuss's character, you mean?
That's what I mean.
I'm trying to think of like a mid-late 80s movie that he would have like worked well in. I mean, I just don't know. Like, I
if he was
seen
in
enough
like
of his
Midnight
other
Run
stuff. Yeah, sure.
If he was Grodin in Midnight
sure,
Run.
if he was Grodin, right.
Nah.
Grodin's
Can't
great.
get there.
I liked him though.
I'm glad you liked it, Craig.
Is it just because his name is Craig?
Maybe not a lot of Craigs.
Not a lot of Craigs. Craig T. Nelson, Craig Wasson.
Representation, yeah.
Craig Robinson.
Yeah.
I think I need to watch more De Palma movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so
It's
delightful.
it's one of the best like journeys you can go on as a movie fan.
Body Heat. He didn't do Body Heat.
Probably start with
Body
Carrie
Double.
and just start going Carrie.
Yeah,
Then just go through.
I haven't
through,
seen
yeah.
Carrie. Yeah.
Have you seen Scarface?
No.
Oh man.
I know. I can't believe I haven't seen
I would do
Scarface.
all of them. I would do Sisters, Phantom of the Paradise, like all the 70s movies and all the 80s movies are a
Have
blast.
we done his two best movies or no? Like we did Blowout.
You guys
and now
did
we Body
Untouchables.
Double. And Untouchables, right.
And we've done Mission
We've done
Impossible.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, we've done 4, I think, right?
We've done this and Blowout. Yeah, that's 4.
But we haven't done Scarface.
Are these-
we
Or
haven't done
or
Dress to Kill.
Or Carrie.
Oh yeah,
Dress to Kill could be in the Could This Movie Be Made month.
Yeah.
Maybe it's De Palma month.
It's still Dress to Kill is still good though. Still love it. I think Blowout still is his best movie.
I agree.
loved Blowout.
I agree. All right. Produced by Craig Horlbeck. Thanks to CR. Thanks to Sean. Don't forget, you can watch this on the Ringer Movies YouTube channel as well.
It's a lot of
where we keep
facial
putting stuff-
expressions on
yeah.
that. Yeah.
They might put like some sort of rating on this podcast. We'll see you next week in the Rewatchables.